Lalonde Limited, a public company following IFRS 16, recently signed a lease for equipment from Costner Limited. The lease term is 5 years and requires equal rental payments of $25,173 at the beginning of each year. The equipment has a fair value at the lease's inception of $112,400 at an estimated useful life of 5 years and no residual value. Lalonde pays all executory costs directly to third parties. The appropriate interest rate is 6%. Calculate the amount of the right of use asset and lease liability and prepare the initial entry to reflect the signing of the lease agreement and the first payment under the lease. Okay, so we know we're under IFRS 16 here. And we know that we need to record the entry for the signing of the lease agreement. So we know that the first thing that we need is the present value of the minimum lease payments. Okay, so let's start finding our inputs here. So we've got N, which is going to equal 6. We're told that the appropriate discount rate is 6. Let me just fix that to percentage. 6. Then we've got the term. It says the lease term is 5 years. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, the lease term is 5 years. And then we've got, what else do we have here? We've got the payment is going to equal, and we're given a payment right here, 25,000, and it's an outflow. So we're going to put it as a negative, $25,173. The future value of the lease is going to be no residual value, so it's going to be 0. And we're going to simply put compute present value. Okay, so very important, make sure you have begin mode on. And if you don't know what that means, please watch my tutorial video on setting up begin mode. So for leases, all the payments are due at the beginning of the period. And you can see here even, it says the lease term is 5 years and requires equal retail rental payments of $25,173 at the beginning of each year. That means this is considered an annuity due. The payments are due at the beginning of the period, not at the end of the period. That requires us to have this special mode onto our financial calculators called begin mode. That's pretty simple to put on. And then when you put in these inputs, you'll get the right answer. So when we put compute present value here with begin mode on, we're going to get $112,400 as the present value of this lease. So those are our minimum lease payments. So what is our journal entry on inception of the lease? Well, we are going to have debit right of use asset, and it's going to be the $112,400 that we calculated as the present value right here. Then we're going to have credit cash. So we're going to need to pay our first lease payment. And it says in the question, our lease payments are $25,173. So that's what we've got as our payment. And the balance is going to be our lease liability, which is going to be 112 minus our first lease payment. So our lease payment is, our lease liability is going to be $87,227 on inception of the lease. So you can see how important it is to make sure you have this correct present value, because that dictates this amount and the lease liability, considering it's the balancing figure.